Hi, this is Catherine Lewis from MilestonesAcademy.com. I'm here to talk to you today about nature study. We called it Wild Days at our house because we had some pretty wild kids. We had a lot of fun doing this kind of stuff. One book that really got me going doing nature study was reading Wild Days. I know a lot of people really like the Handbook of Nature Study, and after a while I used that one too. But this one, Wild Days by Karen Ratcliffe, gave me a lot of good ideas for doing nature study with little children. And those are what we had at the time. Before I go any further, I want to give a plug for using quality materials. I think you should buy the very best materials you can afford with your kids. This is a current journal I'm using, and this is the sort of journal we used, only ours weren't totally blank on the pages. They had lines across the bottom. We used Prismacolor pencils. At first we bought the inexpensive Crayola ones, and they will work, but the colors aren't as vivid and they're harder to use. And I think that the quality of the Prismacolor justifies the price, and we just love them. Now, if you're not really quite sure what a nature journal is supposed to look like, and you might want to inspire your children, this book, The Country Diary of an Edwardian Lady by Edith Holden, is really helpful to help you understand what you're looking for. Now, of course, a 6-year-old can't paint or draw or color the way she can, but it will inspire them. One thing I did was I would put this on a little easel on the shelf. And there's usually a spread for each week. Here's a December spread. Since this is December, here's another one and another one. And what you do is, while you're out with your children, you have them draw something, or bring something home to draw, or even find a guidebook that has pictures of flowers or trees or the things that they're interested in. And when they identify something out on your wild day, they can come home and draw it if it's an especially rainy day. But this is the kind of thing you might be able to expect. There's poetry, what's going on in nature right now, and maybe a drawing, and in the style of the Edwardian Lady. And there are other nature journals out there like this that were drawn by men, and you might have one of those up too if you have a house full of boys, or even just one boy. But the power of nature study is helpful in so many ways. Not only do you introduce your child to the beauties of God's nature, you give them an opportunity to see more than just the forest. You've heard the saying, you can't see the forest for the trees. I think that when you take a little child out on a nature trail and they point out the first little wildflower of spring, it's an exciting experience. But it's even more exciting when your 17-year-old, somewhat rebellious child says, stop the car, look at that, and shows everybody a beautiful sunburst through the clouds. And the child won't be able to feel or understand or even notice these things if it isn't made part of their life. And you have one day a week that you can take your child out. When we were in Seattle, oftentimes we didn't know what day of the week we would be able to go out. And the boys especially loved to race to the window in the morning, and they could declare it a wild day or not. But we had to limit them to only once a week, because they would have gone on a wild day every day if they had had the chance. So we would pack a picnic lunch and our guidebooks and our drawing supplies, and we would head to the ocean or to the mountains or to some walking trail close by. And this was quite easy in Seattle. Everything is beautiful there, except there's a little too much rain. But we've lived in other places, Hawaii and Utah, and they all have their own beauty about them. You can experience wild days in the rain, in the snow, in the extreme heat, as long as you're prepared with proper clothing and something to eat. Now, one thing I did was I always brought some kind of forbidden treat with us to entice my children who didn't like to write or draw to do these things. And I would say, once we're done with our drawings today, we're going to have cookies or we're going to eat cupcakes. And these aren't things that we ate very often at our house. And so it made it special, and they were really willing to do it. And now that I can see that they're all grown up, and the ones that we did Wild Days with love nature so much. They like to be out in it, and they do see God's hand in all around them. Well, that's all for now. This is Catherine Lewis from milestonesacademy.com.